Hey, you are along for the ride with Mad Dog and Cole. I swear it wasn't me, Farrell.
Baja is just Spanish for race course.
I decided to fly through the air and live in the sunlight and enjoy life as much as I could, and that's just what I'm doing.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Wait.
Man, shout out to our boy Evil Knievel for those inspiring words. Flying through the air, living in the sunlight, enjoying life as much as he can. We all need to take a moment to live in the sunlight and enjoy life as much as we can, without a doubt. And how do we get to that point?
You know, if you want to fly motorcycles through the air, it's nice to have first responders there because they're the ones, along with our armed servicemen and women, that allow us to do this podcast. And we cannot go any farther without thanking them making this possible.
Absolutely huge respect for our first responders, our service people all around the world, really. And, our veterans, our POWs, and all those families who paid the ultimate price. And speaking of thank yous, man, couldn't do it without a big thank you to our partners, Bomber Floating Eyewear, bombereyewear.com. Tommy and the gang just hitting home runs all the time. New product coming out all the time. Mega bombs, buzz bombs, the boogie bombs that I'm wearing. Little heads up, I'm wearing the limited edition white Mana series, and those are almost to hit end of cycle for that limited edition. So
Buy
if you
now.
want a pair, you better get to bombereyewear.com and get a pair. Of course, Kicker Performance Audio, man, where would we be without Kicker Performance Audio? All your 12-volt audio needs, whether it be car, truck, boat, sandrail, side-by-side, even your personal audio needs, man, Kicker Performance Audio. Find them at kicker.com or on Instagram at Kicker Audio. And speaking of Kicker Audio, special shout out to my girl Sandy Sue and my dude J Dub. Thank you guys so much. I am sporting this one-off Along for the Ride edition Kicker Living Loud t-shirt, which you will see when you tune in to our YouTube once this episode publishes on YouTube podcasts. Compliments of Kelsey Morrell Film and Media. Find her on Instagram at Kelsey Morrell Film. Of course, my dude Cole, the Premix Podcast, sharing his passion and love for all things desert racing from the lens, behind the lens of a camera. Dude, also available for your off-road or motorsports events, MC and announcer work. Hit him up on Instagram, DM him, slide him a dim at the Premix Podcast, all one word, ThePremixPodcast on Insta. Be sure and put that little at Kuliku right in front of it. Man, I want to give an extra shout out to the guests that we've had. We really appreciate it. I know there's some of you who are listening, who are loyal listeners, that are yet to be guests, but it's coming. We've got a list. We're working our way through it. So, yeah, man. So stoked to be doing this with one of my best friends in the world and my little brother, Cole, the Moto Man, the mix master, the producer, whatever you want to call him, anything but late for dinner. Farrell.
That's a lot to put in my bio, but I'll make it work.
Yes, sir. Man, another returning guest. We had a couple in the last episode, and this one fresh from the Baja 500, his first run, BC Vaught. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss
Still
it.
pulling the silt out of his eyes.
Yeah. Man, as promised, fresh from the Baja 500 and his first stint in a trophy truck in a race, Mr. BC Vaught.
Cheers. Thanks for having me
Cheers.
on. I'm looking forward to Cole's intro saying tonight.
It's
It's a
actually
good
on
one.
topic. It's relative.
It is. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
hear it.
You want
Are
to
you
hear
go-
it now? You're going to have to listen to the
Sure.
episode, just like everybody else. No. It's Baja is Spanish for race course.
All right. I like that one.
All right, good.
Very
So,
good. Very good.
yeah, so man, okay, I know it's like, to you, no big deal. I hopped in a trophy truck that I've probably driven like maybe 2 miles and drove 250. But man, like for us, we're watching every minute of it as much as we can, social media and all that. How was it? How was Baja? How was the trophy truck?
It was, I was hanging out with my buddy Ryan in Sunset Beach here at Beal's Barbecue for lunch one day. And we were just shooting the shit, and he's got a company that does very well in the telecommunications market, and he said, I need some write-offs, and I'm thinking about getting a trophy truck. I know we all laugh at that, right? But he goes, I'm thinking about getting a trophy truck. Let's race a trophy truck. And I go, well, I mean, do you want to spend that much money, or do you want to get into, we can race razors relatively cheap. I mean, compared to a trophy truck, and that's my world there. I know a lot of people there, and we can get great support. And he goes, nah, let's go straight to the trophy truck. And I said, okay, well, if that's really what you want to do, then I'll connect you. And so I called Jim Beaver, and Jim Beaver turned Ryan on to Robbie Pierce over at Jimco. And Ryan and Robbie hit it off right off the bat. Ryan went down there, and Robbie gave him a ride through the neighborhood in the truck. Apparently that was the story within itself. But those guys hit it off. Robbie said, hey, man, if you like the truck, let me know. And I'm going to go down to Bon Air and go scuba diving for a week. It's my passion. I haven't been able to do it the last 10 years, so I'm going to go for it. And so Ryan said, okay, Ryan wired him the money while he was on his way to Bon Air, and everything was good. And then Robbie Pierce, had a heart attack while he was scuba diving pretty much and passed away. But the Navarro family out of Mexico, I'm not real familiar with the Navarros. I know Rafael now from Jimco, but I know the Navarros have a lot to do with farming, in Mexico, and they own a lot of property near San Felipe, and super nice people. And they took over and bought Jimco from the trust. And we went down there. We took the truck out to Plaster City. I got to drive it for 20 minutes. I think maybe 2 laps on the little loop there. Ryan drove it a little more. He went out there twice with Jimco, and I just figured, what, my job in the truck, getting the truck at mile 220 or 220-ish, was to get it to the finish, So Ryan started the race. He was hauling ass. He was doing great until he ran into just a small tree. And the steering broke, so he needed to get a whole new steering setup brought to him, and that put us back about 3.5 hours. And then he got back in the truck, hauled ass to me about it was 212 actually at BFG Pit 2. And I got in the truck and drove it from there around the loop in Borrego, up over the pass in the transition road over to the west side and the beach. And as I was on the transition road, I could, the truck's got paddle shifters, which is bitching too, I'm like, man, it doesn't feel like it's shifting, with an automatic, transmission with paddle shifters, there's not a huge difference. It's a 3-speed truck, so I'm like, yeah, it's definitely not shifting, so it was stuck in second gear. But in second gear, I'd run the motor up to $6,000. I didn't want to run it much higher than that because I felt like, Ryan was stuck for 3 hours. Why overwork the motor? Let's get this thing to the finish.
Right.
Second gear in that truck did 65, 70 miles an hour at $6,000. So I was like, screw it, I'll just drive it. And I kept, trying to get a hold of the team. When we finally had radio, I told them what was going on, and they said pull over for a little bit. And so I pulled over, waited for Raphael to come, and I just reached over in the little bag, where I store my wallet, passport, and iPhone, and I pull it out, and I got cell service in all places. And it's Ryan calling, and Ryan goes, "What's going on?" And I go, "The truck's stuck in second gear." And he goes, "Well, then fucking drive it to the finish. It'll do 60 miles an hour. And so we're sitting there just waiting for the pit crew to tell us what to do, Wes Miller was my co-pilot, and he's like, "Just be patient. Let's let the crew figure it out," and all that. And I'm antsy, even though we weren't, competing for podium or anywhere near there. I wanted to get to the finish, and it's funny how I just happened to pull the little baggie out. My phone's ringing as Ryan, and he's like, "What's going on? I see you guys are stopped." And I go, "Oh, and the tranny won't shift out a second." He goes, "Fucking pin it. Just drive it," So I last, 2.5 hours in second gear by itself. And there's some gnarly terrain on the last 2 hours. It was super stressful. It's funny, as you're prepping for one of the biggest races in off-road, some minor things get missed, and they're not so minor in the end. And that would be, I just got a Simpson helmet, and it was all set up with rugged, speakers in there.
Yep.
No offense to rugged or anything, because they're badass, but when that motor's humming at 6,000 RPMs, and I'm not wearing a helmet skirt, and those speakers are, an inch from my ears, and I'm half deaf from drumming half my life, I couldn't hear Wes for shit, So I'm hauling ass 100 miles an hour, down this whoop section next to the highway. And I know it's going to turn left here coming up, but I'm relying on Wes to say, okay, you got about quarter mile, you got a 90 left coming up. Couldn't hear anything but like a whoa, So I'm like, "Wes, you gotta freaking yell," and he goes, "Dude, I am yelling." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be a long night," So the whole time I couldn't hear Wes. If the motor was up in RPMs, it was no way. Next time I think I gotta go with, those speakers are awesome for cruising in a UTV or, a vehicle, a regular vehicle. But if you're up at 6,000 RPMs, you got to have in-ear monitors, just like when I play the drums in a band,
Yep.
So next time I will have that rectified. Hearing your co-driver is key. You got to be able to hear him. There's a couple times, I'm coming up over a crest and I'm thinking, oh, I remember this section from pre-running 2 times. And you're not going to remember everything perfect. You know what I mean? I come up over this crest and it's a 90-degree right, and I'm doing like 60 miles an hour. I'm pitching the truck sideways to the right and on the gas and just slid it into like a big pile of bushes, and it just happened to bounce off the bushes. And I was thinking I was going over, but next thing you know, I'm still going. I'm like, all right, cool. It's just it's nuts, man. And being out there, coming up on other racers and getting impatient, and it was just a rush, man. It was unbelievable. And it's crazy when you're hauling ass and you see a crowd of people, your heart starts beating. Like when I'm driving, I'm pretty relaxed. You know what I mean? I'm sure my heart rate's up. But when you're driving and you're doing 80, 90 miles an hour, and then you come into a crowd of people, some shit's there that they want to see. So your heart rate goes up real quick, and you're wondering what they've done since you pre-ran it and everything. And, and you want to give them a good show too, when you hit whatever they've built. All kinds of stuff, and like I said, the last 2 hours was the most intense part of the race because, we got into this, we got behind somebody and it was super dusty, and we're down in this valley, and it was about 11 o'clock at night, and it was very humid, very dusty. And so the humidity and the dust on my visor would cake up this like mud, and I'd try to wipe it down, but then it's still a little foggy. So I'd lift my visor up, then I had my prescription glasses on. Then it would cake up on my glasses, and then I would pull my glasses off and give them to Wes and say, dude, clean these, And then I'd be driving with, nothing. Well, and I'm trying to clean my visor when I get a second of, relaxation. But that last part of the race, there wasn't a whole lot of sections where you're just relaxing. It was real tight, down in valleys, through little running rivers, and it was nuts, man. So when we got to that finish line at midnight, I was super stoked that the race was over.
Well, and to that point, I wanted to ask you, what time were you guys off the line?
I think everybody left at I think it was like the 8 or 9 o'clock hour,
Okay.
I've gone back and watched the flow. You can go back on the tracking and watch the flow of the race. And Ryan was doing great in the beginning. He did the start, and he was, hanging right in there with everybody. And the start's gnarly. You're hauling ass down the highway. You don't go through the river anymore right there. You do kind of a fake start at the beginning. You take off at the line where all the people are there.
Ceremonial start. Yeah.
Ceremonial start. Yeah. And then you slow down and you cruise out of town, and then you get to I don't know, I call it the turnpike. It's like a road that goes around Ensenada. And they get up there, and then they go every minute and take off. And Ryan had pre-ran it, 2 days before, and he goes, dude, the start's going to be gnarly. There's, I'm going to be driving this truck to capacity on this highway, and then we get off on a dirt road, and then I'm sure it's going to be dusty as hell, and it's going through like a residential community until you get to Ojos Negros,
Wow.
And I go, you'll be fine. Just, be smart. Don't overdrive. And no, we're trying to get to the finish. We have nothing to prove here. We don't have Red Bull on the side of the truck or Rockstar or, it says me on the side of the truck.
Right.
So who gives a shit? Let's get this thing to the finish. You know what I mean? And, Ryan, he's in, we have places there in Havasu Landing. And, one time when he first got his razor, he rolled the thing in the first 10 minutes, and I've made fun of him ever since. But then I rode with him in the trophy truck when we went to Plaster City to test it. And that's when I was like, okay, he knows how to drive. That was a fluke deal,
Yeah.
So he knows how to drive that trophy truck at capacity from just a few times testing it. And so I knew he'd do great at the start, but I was like, just don't get over ambitious. Don't feel like you have to beat anybody or prove anything because it's a race of attrition. It's 500 miles. So he was there keeping up with everybody, and he was in some heavy dust, and he was his co-pilot is Barry Caracas, who builds the trucks at Jimco and is very skilled behind the wheel. And I think probably Barry was pushing him to like, gotta go, and Ryan made a mistake, hit a tree, and it broke the steering. He was down for a bit, and like I said before, they got it up and running, and he hauled ass to me, and we got it to the finish somehow, some way.
But it's pretty awesome though. I mean, you got it to the finish for the cutoff, and I think you actually, it was what you were saying about how gnarly it was. In looking back at Fish's post of all the official finishes, it was pretty obvious it was gnarly. And talking to some of my other friends that race side by sides down there, because the DNF ratio was way up.
It was half the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, it was higher than I've seen it in a long time, especially on the 500 and a loop.
It was a crazy course. I mean, when we were pre-running, we were like, wow, it's pretty smooth. But I mean, the last few days of pre-running just tore that course up. And there was, that section that had the big crevasse in it, that people were rolling. Like I think Tavo got stuck in it, and somebody else rolled their truck in it. And when we went through their pre-running, I was like, what's the big deal? I'm like, put tire on each side of it and cruise,
Yeah.
But when you're in the racing setting, and when I got to that spot at like, it was probably 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, or probably 9 o'clock at night, and there's a big ass crowd there watching you, you're like, okay, what's going on here? I gotta be very careful. And I mean, it got even gnarlier, and it got real dusty for a second. I couldn't see. The truck dropped down kind of sideways, and I just pinned it and got it back up on the road. And yeah, it was nuts. And there was a lot of ruts. One time, Wes was telling me, careful, there's a lot of ruts on this road. And I dropped down in one with my left side. I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to get out of this. And,
Wow.
You pin it, and it just, boom, it hit and came out of it. And it's like, all right, we got it. But I mean, there was a lot of obstacles, a lot of stuff that was super gnarly, and it was super hard to see once the sun went down. And there was a lot of dust from razors and, buggies. And but it was something else. I wanted to experience that, and I got to experience it. And like I said, it was super stressful, but had I been able to hear Wes, I think the stress would have been cut in half.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know, other than pre-running, what was coming up.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead,
Cole.
Lauren. Well, being down with the steering rack 3 hours, now have 3 hours less sun than you had pre-ran with or assumed you were going to have. So now you're in this fog. It's sticking to your glasses, the visor, and the lights on the truck. I mean, and you only have second gear to get through that technical stuff. That's insane.
Which was fine. I mean, that's really not an excuse, because the technical stuff was good for, the second gear was good for everything, up to 60 miles an hour. But something with the computer was communicating with the motor too, because when I was climbing some of the steep hills, and when you're in that 2-wheel drive truck and you're in silt and sand trying to climb a hill, man, that thing was struggling to get up the hill. I'd be on the gas, and then it would start coughing on me, so I was like, man, I hope I didn't damage the motor in any way. It's not worth it for this race, because Ryan was down so long. But apparently Barry's got that rectified. hung out with Ryan for a little while for lunch today, and we discussed that. But Barry and all the Jimco guys are coming to the whiskey Saturday night. So
Nice. Yeah. Well,
Barry Caracas Jr. is the drummer himself. So I told him he's got to get there early for sound check. We'll get him up on the kit.
rad. That is awesome. And that, yeah, no, I want to like I feel like you're selling yourself and the team and finishing your first Baja 500 as a team in a basically brand new truck, kind of short, because really, dude, it's kind of a big freaking deal.
I will say that the Jimco truck is bulletproof. That is a badass truck to drive. I mean, just sitting in that thing, I sim race a lot. I love sim racing, and sitting in that Jimco truck is like sitting in my simulator. And with having the paddle shifters, it's very similar. So I feel very at home in that thing. But I mean, that truck is just a beast. It's unbelievable. It's crazy when you're doing 100 miles an hour through a whoop section and you can just hear all the parts of the truck working. And it's just, and it just feels so good. I had to, when I was waiting for Ryan to show up, I was psyching myself out a little bit, and I had my cousin Johnny was there who, like, we grew up going to Riverside Raceway, watching off-road races and, building our Toyota pre-runners, so to speak, back in the day, but we never had the loot to, go big in a trophy truck. So when I told my cousin I was driving this trophy truck, he's like, I'll be there, dude. And he came out, and it was super cool because, where he came to Borrego where we took off, and it was just I took off in a circle that was about a 45-minute loop. And then it comes back to the highway, and then you run the highway for about 5 miles right next to the highway in a whoop section. And I think you may have seen the video or whatever, but they were doing 100 miles an hour next to me, and I'm just cruising through the whoops and all that. And it's just amazing. Like I said, I was psyching myself up because I was like, dude, you know how to drive a Razor. Razor does 80, 90 miles an hour. This truck goes just a few miles an hour faster, maybe 20, 30, 40 miles an hour faster, but it's just a heavier Razor. So chill out, And when Ryan got to me, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't stressed. Barry Caracas's lady says, get it to the finish. And I looked at her and I said, don't worry about that. I'll do it. And sure enough,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that being said, huge congratulations for getting to the finish, because on that kind of DNF rate, with the attrition that you had and the downtime that you had, just to get to the finish, replace the steering gear, steering rack, or whatever it was. And then kudos to Ryan too, because, okay, we took the part we've been testing and driving, the part that I know was good that broke, we took out and we put something else in, and that part just broke. And and it sounds like he still railed his way up to drop the truck off to you. So
he was driving the shit out of that truck when the steering wasn't working. He drove it until the steering stopped working completely, and he was barely able to get it to a place where the truck could get to him with a new rack.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me. I know Ryan, and he's an awesome dude and very driven, and super nice guy too. So, but yeah, I gotta say, we definitely celebrated for you guys. I'm sure you guys had a small celebration on finishing.
It was pretty much, I pulled up to the finish, and Ryan shows up all excited, and the crew all showed up, and they handed me a Modelo. We were there for 2 weeks. We pre-ran. We didn't overdo it on the pre-running. We pre-ran, took a day to relax. But for 2 weeks, there was no real partying, drinking, going out to dinner. And it was just chilling at the house, barbecuing, but getting to bed early, looking at the map and just kind of planning and, just taking it easy, and when I had friends and family show up, like my cousins and my buddy Brad, they want to go to town and party. And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, no, I'm not, you guys go have fun. I'm not doing it. I want to be spot on. This is an opportunity that nobody gets. And I'm going to take full advantage of that. If I focus on it and I make a mistake and don't get the job done, well, so be it. But if I go out and have drinks with the buddies and act like a donkey for leading up to the race and I wreck the truck, well, then I'm a donkey.
Right.
So I wanted to, having been given that opportunity, I wanted to give it my all. And, and that's what I did. And I felt great. And, and it's kind of, I had a heart attack just, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks before that. And so I've changed my diet a bit and I'm, working on losing weight and getting down to a level where maybe I can get off blood pressure medicine and play drums. Like even playing drums now is crazy. I'm not gasping for air anymore. I'm feeling
Oxygen.
good.
A lot easier to
Yeah,
get around the kit in some parts. Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah, when your heart gets blood, but it also comes down to, cutting back, having drinks with the boys and
Yep.
and eating much better. I'm eating a lot more salad now and stuff like that. And
For sure.
yeah.
But
Well, and
going
we,
back to,
yeah, go ahead.
Lauren.
Go ahead.
Going back to the 2 weeks of pre-running and the fact that you had a good opportunity and you're there for fun, but you still treated it like a job. I
Mhm.
think that a lot of people make their own luck. And I really think that that's what you did. Like the fact that you guys finished through all this stuff, that was those not drinking 10 Modelo's a night and not being a fool and not running 100 miles an hour down the highway. Like I think you guys came down there with such respect for what was going on that you guys deserve that finish.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, Ryan had made mention to me about that, because Ryan and I have a relationship of, having places in Havasu where when you're in Havasu, you're drinking beers and you're boating and all that. And then, we hang out at the beach and, and stuff like that. So there's always a little bit of, there's a beer here and there involved, but this 2 weeks was super serious and we treated it as so because it's like like I said, who gets to drive one of these trucks,
Right.
buddy? So I wanted to seize the day when it comes to driving that truck and do the best I could with that opportunity.
That's huge. And Lauren, I don't know how well you studied the official results, but the 28 team, they were the last scored trophy truck to finish, to not get a DNF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk
Awesome.
about it. I mean, like, yeah, winning's great, but I'd say that's a fairy tale ending too, to be like the truck that stuck it out.
We
Yeah.
kind of did the math. We feel like if Ryan didn't have the tree incident and I didn't stop for close to an hour waiting for the team to find us and check out the transmission and to figure out why it wasn't shifting out of first or out of second period, we would have been around 10th.
Wow.
And to me, like with the 20 minutes or Ryan's 45 minutes of experience in the truck prior, success. I mean, because I don't know if you guys have YouTube on your
Yes.
YouTube channel, but that's such a great channel to go watch. And like I lay in bed more now watching his videos and watching these drivers and seeing what these guys do with those trucks. It's like it's experience.
Yeah.
Ryan and we have the skill to do it, but skill takes you so far. Experience gets you the talent, and and we'll get there. All in due time. Just being smart and not destroying the truck in the meantime is the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. And that's super cool. And I would say great respect to you and Ryan for your approach. I know both of you went down there. It's like, yeah, we're not trying to win it. We want to go have fun. We want to learn, but you also approached it like hugely respectful of the beast that it was as the Baja 500, you know. So um and I respect that a lot because a lot of times, especially a new program, new truck, lots of power, it's like, you know, I've been in the position with bikes where it's like new program, uh, new bike, it's got 25 more horsepower and better brakes. And it's like, first thing you do is go out and fucking crash it, you know? So, it's happened. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, sure.
But you know, that's it's a very calculated approach to putting yourself in the position to better each race moving forward.
Hmm. Yeah, no, agreed. We were talking about that a little today, you know, and how much of a learning experience that race was for us, and how much better we'll be on the next race, you know, and just from communication to pre-planning to even driving and not over driving. And you know, I was talking to him, I'm like, so you're in the dust and you want to push it because you want to keep up with all these badasses, but it ends up costing 3-4 hours, you know, if you just
Yeah.
slow down a little bit. And you know, and to me the same, you know, there was times where Wes Miller was like saying, slow the fuck down, relax. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right.
I'm in the groove, Wes. I'm in the groove.
Yeah, no, just you get in some sections where you're pushing it a little too hard, and you should be just chilling out and taking care of the vehicle a little better, you know. But
Letting the car drive you for a bit.
so much travel in that truck, it's just easy to want to hammer it over the whoops, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you alluded to your health situation. We covered that just slightly. We didn't go into details, but I guess everybody knows now he had pretty much had a heart attack. So um, we are truly, honestly glad you are here. And dude, I mean, you didn't get your big party in time down in Baja, but I know you've got a big party coming up this weekend.
Yeah, July 1st. Oh, this weekend. No, I
This weekend,
forgot all about that one. Yeah, this
The
weekend,
other party.
Saturday night, the Whiskey a Go Go in Hollywood, hosted by Jim Beaver himself, sponsored by Belching Beaver Brewing.
the Podfather.
You know, as of maybe a year and a half ago, I didn't think I'd play in a band again. You know, having played in Breaking Benjamin, Head PE, I was like, I'm done dealing with singers. You know what I mean? Fuck singers, period.
Yeah.
And you know, these guys called me up and said, "Come on, come play for us." You know, the original drummer of Korn was in the band, David Silvera, and he was leaving to move to Florida. And they're like, "Oh, well, we want you to come play for us." And I was like, "Man, I just don't want to deal with singers." You know, long story short, Rich, the singer, called me, and he's a super cool cat. None of these guys in my band have egos. Everybody's super cool. So I went down to the studio, jammed with them, had a good time. They have some great stuff. I learned their stuff. Now we're writing new stuff with me. And what came out of it was Wes Gear, who was my guitar player in Head PE, came to the studio. I said, "Hey, Wes," and this is kind of funny because I knew it was going to work out this way. I said, "Wes, let's jam. Let's jam some old Head stuff." And he's like, "Well, I don't know about that. You know, guitar players are almost as bad as singers, you know, ego." So he comes down the studio and I say, "Show Joe how to play this song. We're going to play this Head song." So Wes shows Joe, and then we play it with Joe. And then I go, "Yeah, that sounded pretty close, Wes. Why don't you play the song with me once?" So then Wes plays it with me, and he's like, wow, man, it's like we haven't stopped playing together for these 20 years. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, that was fun. I go, exactly. Isn't that why we play music in the first place? For fun. Let's do this. So he's like, all right. So he ended up playing with me at the Huevos reunion in Vegas with DJ Product, our DJ.
Which was rad. Sorry for interrupting, but I think we covered this after I got back from SEMA and all that.
Yeah.
And the energy that you guys had, like Bias breaking in a sequence has great energy. And is it Rich?
Rich.
Rich is, man, he is on fire like 1,000% of the time. But then Wes jumped up on stage and your DJ jumped up on stage, and it was like the roof of the backstage. That was Backstage Bar and Billiards, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. The roof of that place went up like 6 more feet just from the energy projection. And it was incredibly fun to watch. And I'm sorry I interrupted, but
No,
people need to know, like, it was like, holy cow.
I appreciate that. And it's just been a blast. I mean, the falling out with our singer, Jared, 20 something years ago was, it was very typical of what goes on with rock bands. You know what I mean? And it's just a shame that after trying for 20 years to rekindle the relationship with him and say, dude, let's move past the egos and let's get over it. We made 3 incredible albums together. We traveled the world together. We played all over the world, and sold over 1 million albums. It's like, come on, let's get together and do a reunion of sorts. You know what I mean? And he's just never responded. And I kind of got freaking tired of waiting. I'm like, man, I had so much fun playing in Head PE. I want to experience that again in some way. And that's why I got in Bias. And thank God the Bias guys are super cool. They're like, yeah, we can have the original Head guys come on stage and play some songs and take half of our show time up, But I was honest with them when I joined the band. I said, look, I'm doing this for fun. I ain't doing this because I want to get a record deal and travel on tours again. I just want to play music with you guys, maybe do some stuff with 1 or 2 original Head PE guys and have some fun. And that's what we're doing. And Saturday night, a 4th original member, Chad, is going to play with us. So it's 4 of 6 playing this Saturday night. And we're going to play, one really special song called The Meadow that Chad wrote. That was one of Head PE's coolest songs, and we even heard that Jared is going to be in town, our old singer. So I had Chad reach out to him and say, come hang out.
That's
like, get over it. Like, let's just be bros and smile. And we don't want to take over what is the current Head PE. We respect what Jared's done since we've all been gone, and we don't want to impede on that in any way. But we started the band together. We wrote songs together. We deserve to play those songs too. And so that's what we're going to do and have a good time. And who knows what'll come of it. But, Fieldy from Korn hit me up. He's the bass player that just left Korn recently. And he's like, are you guys jamming some stuff? And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, shit. Because he's got a band that with like Woov from POD, and they play, and they're a super cool band. And he's like, maybe we should jam some shows together, and maybe I'll step in and play bass with you, and just for fun. And I go, dude, that's all we want to do is have fun. And he's like, well, that sounds good to me. So you never know what's going to come of it, playing some big fun festivals at a racetrack or something. Like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, well, speaking of, you guys did Mint 400, and you guys got a lot of good press from the Martellis and everything doing that.
Yeah, I mean, That was fun. There wasn't a lot of people standing there watching us, but I told my band, I go, we're going to go out to Mint 400. There will be some people watching, but what we will get is, you know, a little name recognition, and I can be there to promote Kanadi and GBC too. I mean, how about that? I got to promote Kanadi and GBC at the Mint 400 for free, just
Right.
for my band to play. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, I don't think
And
anybody had a better deal than that.
there it is. I see the plug. Well, you might as well go ahead and throw that, because I want to go back to Whiskey a Go Go this weekend. But throw that plug, get that mug up for when it hits YouTube, and throw the plug for those guys.
I got to give it up for Corey too, Corey Ellis and GBC and
Yep.
Kanadi. You know, they kind of let me, you know, he brought me on to kind of do my thing with Greenball Corporation, and so I go to these events and I market them, and I'm starting to sell the tires now, and I'm just having fun with it. It's like playing in the band. I never sold tires in my life, you know. I never marketed tires, but I'm kind of learning as I go, and you know, meeting a lot of people, and you know, building relationships, and I'm having a great time. And you know, we get to play the UTV takeover at Sand Hollow.
Yep.
You know, and that again, you know, with that, I got a little extra GBC love at that event, and you know, music always brings people together.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see you just enjoying it, you know, like having fun. And I remember how many ever years ago it was, you know, uh when I met you, probably one of the, I don't know, second or third real conversations we had, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm over all that. I don't want anything to do with any of that ever again." And you know, you had kind of a foul taste in your mouth, and to be able to find your way back to it where it's enjoyable and doing what you love
Mm-hmm.
and is rad, dude. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've said recently to a few buddies. It's like it's crazy how different it is playing music now than it was when I was in Head. Now, when I was in Head or Breaking Benjamin and you're playing in front of a big crowd, that's always fun, you know. But it's all the downtime that's a bummer, you know. With Breaking Benjamin, that was tough for me because that wasn't my band. I didn't build that band. I didn't have ownership in that band. I was just kind of a hired gun for that time because they had opened up for us for a long time, and they loved Head PE. And then Mark, the bass player, said, "We want you to come play for us." But Ben and I didn't really click. You know, Ben at the time was an alcoholic, and you know, he'd get up at 10 in the morning, start drinking Miller Lights till 6 in the morning. And he wasn't the easiest guy to deal with. And I'm not really the kind of guy that just lets shit slip by. You know, I'll bring it up and I'll call you out. And
Fact.
it just didn't work, you know. And at that time, you know, having just exited Head PE, and it was a low time in my life, and then joining Breaking Benjamin thinking, oh, this is going to be great. And it was not. You know, Mark and Aaron are great guys, guitar player and bass player. They were awesome, but really, you know, when the singer's not really a great guy to hang out with, well, that makes it a bad scenario. And to Ben's defense, you know, he's sober. He's been sober for many years now. I haven't hung out with him in many years. He's probably super cool now. But at the time, you know, drinking all that alcohol didn't make him a great person.
Right. Yeah. But you know, you're kind of over that hump now. You're getting to do stuff that you enjoy. Um, and like, you know, really making a difference. And I know you've been working with some younger bands. I've seen you work with younger bands, and just advice and stuff like that, which was super rad because, you know, the like you're kind of a rock star and they weren't. you know, and that was never, I've never seen you draw a line like that, right? You're just a regular dude. So it's pretty rad. And you guys are going back to Whiskey A Go Go this weekend, Saturday,
Yep.
for another major party. And you've got, I saw that you're going to have a whole bunch of your head PE guys there and what you were just saying. And then you've got, who do you have also? Mug, Human, Minor Strut.
Yeah, Minor Strut's gonna play, which is Chris Cahill. He's an old buddy from the industry. He used to work at Twisted Stitch, and his little daughter Corinne was this little great singer, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember a long time ago, UTV Underground had an event at Tierra del Sol, and we got a band to play out there, and Corinne came on stage and sang with them, and everybody was super stoked on her. And well, now she's got her own band called Minor Strut, and they're all like 20, 21 years old. They're young kids paving their way. But she's got a great voice. All the musicians in the band are really good, you know, and they're these young kids. So kind of reminds me of an old, you know, No Doubt. Corinne kind of sounds a little like Gwen once in a while, but she's kind of coming into her own now. And but it just reminds me, like, I remember seeing No Doubt before they broke, when Head PE was a young band, you know.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of Minor Strut.
Awesome.
So Minor Strut's going to open the show, and then you got Human, which is Wes Gear's band, which
Yep.
is my guitar player in Head PE. Isn't that great? Like, you know,
Yeah.
he was the guitar player, Head PE, and now he has to open for his drummer. But no, so he's playing right before us. Then we're gonna play Bias, and then Wes will come on stage, and Chad, and we'll, you know, halfway through the Bias set, we'll play some Head stuff, and then after us, Mug, which was our buddy Adam Tice and his boys. Mug, like when Head PE went off touring, Mug kind of took over the Hollywood scene and the new metal world, and they never got the luck to get a big record deal and go on tour. But it's probably better for them because they're all businessmen now and everybody's doing well in the band, and so they're just out there to have fun like us. And then Damnage is I don't know Damnage, but I'm friends with this kid named Tosh the Drummer on Instagram, at Tosh the Drummer. And he's this phenomenal young kid. Like, he's got to weigh about 120 pounds. Colors his hair green. He gets all his tattoos from my nephew, Matt Vaught. He's an incredible tattoo artist. And one day Matt calls me and he goes, "Hey, do you know who Tosh the Drummer is?" I go, "Oh yeah, I follow him on Instagram." He goes, "I'm tattooing him today." So I went down to the studio in Newport Beach and met Tosh, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. I remember your band. My dad was a fan of your band, you know."
Oh, cool.
Basically, you know, he was barely born when we were a band, and you know, so we stayed in touch. And then when I had the opportunity, I saw Tosh promoting this other obscure band that he's in, and the other members play with what's her name? God, I forgot her goddamn name. No, I'll remember in a minute. She's a superstar, pop singer. How would I forget? From New York, pop singer. Tell me, you should know, Lauren.
New York pop singer, female.
Yeah,
Fergie, I don't know. From New York.
How old?
she's probably 35.
So not Alicia Keys.
No, she's a singer. The blonde girl, short, New York blonde girl. What is she? She goes by a nickname. Hang on, I'll tell you real quick.
Kesha.
Lady Gaga. Boom.
Oh, Yeah, I didn't know she was from New York, but my
Yeah,
daughter's a huge fan of her, actually, my oldest daughter.
yeah. So two of the guys playing in this band, Damnage, or they play with Lady Gaga.
Nice.
Yeah.
She has an amazing voice.
Oh yeah, she's
Yeah.
pretty incredible. That's why she's where she's at.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Uh,
man, and the whole thing is going to be emceed by the Podfather himself, Jim Beaver. Yeah.
yeah, the what do I say? The voice of off-road, Jim Beaver. He's you guys and Jim have been great to us, and Jim keeps calling saying, "Dude, I got some more people coming to the show. They're buying tickets. Can we give them a booth or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's he's like a kid in a candy store at this whole rock and roll scene.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be exciting for him. It's so out of the norm for what he's done for so long, and Jim's just such a solid dude. He's been such an inspiration, such a help. If we have a glitch, um, or I have a question about something, I'll throw him a text. And I mean, come on, it's international radio show syndicated Jim Beaver, and he answers me in like 5 minutes, you know, and I'm like, nobody.
Well,
It's
I mean, like there's people that act depending on their Instagram followers, and there's people that are just normal people, and he's one of them. And super cool cat. He's been super good to us. And here's the question I have, Cole, is why have I not heard from you or Lauren saying, "Hey, BC, I'm coming down to the whiskey Saturday. Can I
You
get a
know,
wristband to come backstage?" Well, of course, Cole. I'll take care of your tickets and everything.
listen, I was born in a house where you don't bail on people, and I got a race this Saturday, so I'm wrenching for somebody, and yeah. Otherwise, you better believe I'd be at the whiskey at 6 a.m.
there'll
knocking on the door.
there'll be other shows. Nobody be there at 6 a.m., but 6 p.m. maybe.
No, I'm that big of a fan. I'd be there in the morning.
Where's this race?
Glen Helen, it's a night race.
Oh, it's not. I was going to say,
No,
okay.
otherwise,
No,
no double duty. Don't worry.
gotcha. Yeah, no problem. There will be other concerts.
Yeah, I have to coordinate it where Viking's not working the next day, and we got to figure it out where I'm actually in town and she's not working, and yeah, but at
Shit.
least
Well,
I
if Jim's and Parker, the three of you, just get in the van and go.
yeah
Sure. And yeah.
load up in the Terex 4 and
Well,
crank up.
maybe we can do a show there at the pool again next year.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Um, man, they got to get you. They should get you guys booked into the casino here with the whole tag, with the whole ticket.
Man, you know what? A, a new metal rock band that nobody knows their music, it's not the right band for the casino.
No, you're right. You're right. It would probably be a good fit with you guys and your guests. It'd probably be a great show, well attended at Jeremy's though.
Well, that'd be cool, but you know what I'd rather do is get permission from Rich at the Sail Inn and I'd love to have Bias play at the Sail Inn one night and just
Dude, that'd be
That'd
of
be
our
rad.
friends pack it out and do it old school style, because Rich getting old now, so he don't want the night crowd there. But if I get his permission and he'll be like, "All right, let's do it," we'd
that
have a great time.
that would be sick for sure. So
Friday night.
I think we're coming up on time here, but man, from heart attacks, hospitals, Baja 500, trophy truck run to playing whiskey a go go, you've had a pretty active couple of months, bro.
Yeah, no complaints.
We are super blessed that not only that you're here, but you that you're here still on the planet is what I mean. Um, but that you agreed to jump back on and give us a rundown of the Baja 500. Cole and I have been wanting to hear it, and hearing the excitement in your voice, it was pretty doggone cool, dude.
Nothing. I've done a lot of, I grew up in Ocotillo Wells and Glamis and driving rhinos and razors since razors were conceived, and just nothing's quite as cool as driving a trophy truck.
Sing it, preachers. Sing it. That's pretty rad. So, all right, we need to get shout out from you for all your partners, sponsors, and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I see our kicker shirt on. I was just chatting with Roger. Roger's always been good to us, and Kevin, everybody at Kicker has been awesome through the years with anything that I did in racing, which wasn't a whole lot. And, he took care of my boys, Caleb and Colton Moore. Then I got to thank Greenball Corporation, Canati Tires, GBC. If, you need some tires, hit me up at rotationmotorsports.com. I'll get tires sent right to your doorstep, cheaper than you can find them. And who else can I thank? Really, and the rest of it is, Ryan. I'd like to thank him and Rollcom for, putting me in that truck and trusting me with a $500,000 vehicle. And Jimco guys, got to give it up to them. Looking forward to them coming out to the whiskey and treat them to a nice night for taking good care of us in the truck. And that's about it. And you guys, thanks for having me on the show. I look forward to hanging out with you and cooking some carne asada with you next weekend, Lauren.
It's coming soon. We had 2 weeks, right?
Let's see. This
2
coming
weeks.
No, yeah. A week and a half.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to it. So,
and why isn't Cole going to be there?
He hasn't said he's not going to be yet. So,
got a guest
Man
bedroom.
of mystery, I might just roll up.
You got a guest bedroom open, or is your daughter staying in it?
Daughter's in it, but
Sleep in the boat. I don't care.
I've got the boat actually has a bed. So there you go.
Handled.
We'll figure it out. Air mattress, whatever.
I've got a giant air mattress,
Yeah.
a good one. Yeah, man. So super cool. Appreciate you being on. Any parting comments?
What's that?
Any parting comments? Closing statement?
Not really. No, thanks for having me on the show, and look forward to maybe doing it again sometime when people want to be bored for an hour with my nasal voice and all that.
I know, it's always exciting, always good listens. Your last episode is right up there in the top 3 or 4 of all complete downloads. So pretty stoked about that. And with that, BC, thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time tonight to jump on. Have a great show. I'll see you next week.
See you guys. Thanks a
See you,
lot.
bud.
You bet.
All right.
Bye.
Man, how awesome was that, dude?
Drummer, tire slinger, world famous rock star, and now a Baja 500 finishing trophy truck driver.
Yeah. It's crazy. Heart attack survivor.
Heart attack survivor. Yep.
Important one right there. So, yeah, man, I just love BC to death. He's like a brother to me. And also special shout out to GBC Tires, because I am running the Greenball Towmasters on my trailer, and they are the most durable. As you know, my trailer got a fair amount of miles last year, about 60,000. And those tires are still like new, man.
And not a joke. I mean, when I was slinging them, we literally couldn't keep them in stock. So
Yeah.
Must be a good tire.
Yep, they do a great job. And thank you, Corey, and your team for all that. Other than that, man, speaking of thank yous, of course, Kicker Performance Audio, kickeraudio.com, on Instagram at Kicker Audio. the Premix Podcast, our boy Cole, sharing his passion for all things desert racing from the lens of a camera. Also available for your MC and announcer needs for off-road events or any events. Although he did say no weddings. So anybody that was planning that, too bad.
Maybe
Find
a
him on
backyard wedding. I don't know.
Racetrack wedding.
That'd be cool.
Find him on Instagram at the Premix Podcast. That's the at symbol ThePremixPodcast. Of course,
Beautiful.
Kelsey Morrell Film. If you're enjoying watching this on YouTube or YouTube podcasts, you got Kelsey Morrell Film to thank for all our video production stuff and for all your video production, TV commercials, editing, music production, whatever you need. Hit her up at Kelsey Morrell Film on Instagram. And of course, Bomber Eyewear at bombereyewear.com, on Insta at Bomber Eyewear. Tommy and his group, the Levi's of sunglasses. These things are next to indestructible. I wear the Boogie Bombs because I like the way they fit. In the last episode, you'll notice that it's they have well forwarded themselves into part of me and my personality. And I want to thank Tommy and his group for keeping me completely loaded on Bomber Eyewear. Find them, bombereyewear.com. Check out all their styles. Hit them up. Tell them MAddOG'S sent you. Cole, what you got coming up?
This weekend, Glen Helen night race, and Jake the Snake Young is going to Ironman all 2 hours of it. That's going to be rad. Glen Helen at the Motherland. And random B-brain thought. Earlier you said, where would we be without Kicker? Well, we would be living quiet.
That's true. Get living loud. Kicker Audio, kicker.com. Jake Young, young Jake Young. Good luck, buddy. Have a great weekend. Rubber side down this time would work. And, maybe we'll get a little short recap in after Glen Helen. Maybe we'll bug you again. Really appreciated you jumping on the phone that day. And so we got a lot of good stuff coming, a lot of good plans coming up for guests. We're going to have some more segments coming up with the Rev at some point in the next few episodes. And keep your eyes open for episode 47, one you will not want to miss at all.
It's going to be a beautiful disaster. I'll leave it at that.
Yes. And with that, thank you all so much. Cole, do your speech.
Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform.
Dude, that is so smooth, so beautiful. Silk.
It pays the bills.
MAddOG out.